Hello, good morning. Welcome back to Monday morning live session on IELTS Speaking Mastery. I'm 𝗁𝗲𝐿 I know you have lot of doubts relating to speaking module because it is quite tough, right? So I'm here to help you or guide you to achieve a good score. How about that? So let us start without wasting any time. But I really want you all join and send me some comments so that I can understand your problems, or I really want to know where you are feeling the difficulty. So please write it in the comments so that I will answer you accordingly. I'm just waiting for all of you to get joined and we can start. Today is Monday morning. What is your plan today? Are you having some kind of difficulties while clearing any module, or are you practicing daily? So Mondays are very special, right? We can just start working on our new goals. Even when we just plan to do or start a particular thing, it is always a Monday. So definitely when you want to work on your dreams as well, it is a best day. So before getting into the main speaking module, or before getting into my topic for the day, I really want you to understand certain things about speaking module. So it is important to understand the structure of the test. I always do tell this to you, the structure, because it is all about speaking. You really need to know the structure, otherwise you can't perform really well for the test. So the structure is, you have 3 parts. The first part is interview and introduction. So it is like 4 to 5 minutes. And here, what about answering in 1 or 2 words? How about that? Is it possible, or is it okay to answer in 1 or 2 words? No, it is not at all advisable to answer in 1 or 2 words, because we need 2 sentences minimum and maximum 3 sentences. You can't answer like a storytelling or something over here. It is more about 2 to 3 sentences. You just need to answer to that question. Most of the cases it will be like a yes or no question. The questions will be based on model auxiliaries like do you like, do you just interested in, do you feel like. So it is more about you, your behavior, your individuality, your interest. All these things are covered in the first part. And the second part, let's move on to the second part. So in the first part, the rule is you need to answer for minimum 2 sentences or maximum 3 sentences. When it comes to second part, it is a cue card session. As you know, it is a cue card session. It is a long turn. You are asked to answer for a question like almost 2 minutes of time. You need to talk and talk for 2 minutes in a flow fluently. I'm just emphasizing that term fluently because all we need here is fluency. You need to talk without a break. You can definitely use some of the connectors or fillers as you like, but don't overput it or get too much of fillers into it. It is not advisable. For example, a lot of students, when they talk, they have this sound, but it is a hindrance to that particular flow. So you need to control that thing if you want to get a good score. You can easily score like 8 or 8.5. It is very easy if you just practice in a particular way. So practice is mainly the key. Let me look into your comments in between so that I can just understand, do you have any doubts or not? Okay, so we were talking about part 2, it's long run. And what about preparation? When you get this topic, you can talk for 2 minutes, right? You can talk. But what about the preparation? Yes, we have preparation time over here. That is 1 minute time. They will just give you a cue card along with a pen so that you can prepare for 1 minute of time. So that is the time limit, 1 minute, after which you need to talk for 2 minutes continuously. So if you just got stuck in between, or if you just finish it before 1 minute, 30 minutes, that sometimes they will just encourage you to speak, just talk time. They will just advise you to talk. Otherwise, they will just move on to the next session. If they just got the idea about your language, it is purely based on the invigilator, but still it is always advisable, or it is very important to finish that timing, 2 minutes of time. So even when you just pause, or even when you just stuck in between and you can't move forward, just look into your paper or just take a breath and start over. It is not, you need to finish that time. So don't worry even if you just break, or even if you feel any disturbance in between, that is fine, you need to move forward. And the third part is discussion, or some people call it follow-up question. It is more about it is more about like answering and to the abstract topics. We call it abstract topics relating to the part 2. It can be completely new topics as well. That's why we call it discussion. We have more space for communication over here. It is not like the 2-minute session, but still you need 5 to 6 sentences. It is just not answering to 2 to 3 sentences or anything. We need a detailed answering. Here it is more absurd topics. That is, it is more about the country, about the culture, or how you relate to it. More than you in that particular aspect, it is more about the general things. So that is the difference between these 3 things. And by this time, they can evaluate your speaking criterions and all. There are different criterions. I already explained it in the previous classes. You can go and check if you want to know the marking criteria. So today, what is our topic? Let me ask you. Every time I'm just coming up with 2 main parts for this speaking module, just like that, because the second and third part seems to be hard for a lot of students because it needs a lot of effort. You need to talk for quite a long time, as I am now talking to you non-stop. We are talking on a particular topic. So as like that, today also our topic is cue card along with follow-up. For a better understanding, I also come up with key vocabulary, so you can just use it in your answers. But we need more vocabularies. To be frank, we need a lot of vocabularies. Don't repeatedly use the basic vocabulary. Try to come up with idiomatic expressions or new vocabulary. Idioms are also, that's why I told you idiomatic expressions. You can use idioms in your speaking. There is nothing wrong with that. And just avoid using the same words again and again. It will actually affect your mark, because lexical resources is one of the marking criteria. And pronunciation matters as well. You need to be very careful about the pronunciation. If you don't know a particular word's proper pronunciation, it is better to omit that word. Don't use that word in your conversation. I just love to call it a conversation. Don't make it a test, feel like a test or anything. It is more like a discussion, a conversation between 2 people. So let's come into our topic. So today I am just here with a cue card session. So I was just talking about today's topic. Sorry for the trouble caused. And so today's topic is more about cue card, and I'll be giving you a question and some time to get prepared on the same, and we will or I will give you an answer key. And you need to know that it's a very brief answer key. It is not a 2 minutes one. Last time I just give a very elaborate one. This time a very short one, because I want you to develop that thing. It is not about spoon feeding or anything. You need to come up with your personal experience, your interest and all. My story is different from your story and everyone's story, right? So you need to come up with your own story. Otherwise, at the time of exam, you will feel some difficulty because it is not about you. So you need to come up with your particular experience on that particular topic, and you need to believe that all the questions, all the situations, we might be new to certain situations. Some weird questions, we can't answer to that. For example, there was a question like a special meal someone prepared for you. So even though you can't come up with a proper answer for that, or even if you are not able to find the correct meal option, or your memory is not working on a time, just cook up. It is all about just coming up with stories. They are not asking you to just say the correct or the authenticity or audacity of the thing is not at all important. It is all about story and how you manage to talk within that time frame. That is the only concern we have. And here I told you I'm just giving you a sample answer, but not a 2-minute one today. And later on, we are just moving into the key vocabulary and also very few discussion topics or the follow-up question. And I'll just tell you how to answer to that question as well. So I believe we can just get into the topic. A particular slide will appear on the screen. Just look into it. Can you all see the thing? I hope you can all see the thing. Yes, it is there. So, yeah, today I'm here with a topic which is very common. Describe an important choice you had to make in your life. Read the question. So, is it about a past event, present event, or a future thing? What do you think? What are we supposed to talk? About the past, present or future? It is about the past. Yes, you are correct. It is about the past. So how can we know? Like it, you need to check the tenses. So here the helpful thing is had to. So it is about the past event. So we know the tense now. We are supposed to talk a past event in our life. What is the question? Describe an important choice you had to make in your life. You just took a particular decision in your life. It's a life-changing thing, or it can be a life-changing thing, and you need to talk. And what the question is, you need to talk about an important choice. Choice is always you will be having 2 or 3 things out of which you need to select one. That is the choice thing, right? The word choice means you have options from which you need to select one. And here, so describe an important choice. So you need to talk about an important choice, and you already made that in your life. It already happened in your life. So you need to come up with a particular idea over there. Then, so look into the cues or prompts over here. When, so the time, we need to talk about the time. Then what you had to choose between. So you need to talk about the 2 things or 3 things from which you need to select. And next thing, what? Then whether you made a good decision. Whether you made a good decision. You need to talk about sorry for the trouble again. And yeah, we were talking about the question, that is the cue card. Here the question is about an important choice you made in your life, and what are the cues or prompts. The first one is when you had to make the decision. So when, so it is about the time. Then what decision, what was the choices you had, or from which you need to choose that particular 2 things or 3 things, and whether you made a good decision or a choice. Was it a good decision or was it a bad decision? You need to talk about. That is the other thing. And you need to explain how you felt. How you felt when you were making this choice. What were your thought, or after finishing this thought, what you felt about the same. So it is something that happened in the past only. So you know the outcome as well. So you need to talk on these particular 4 points or cues. It is very important to cover these 4. Otherwise your answer is an incomplete one and it can affect your scores. So some students usually ask me whether is it important to answer all the 4 questions. If I am just finishing only with 3, will it affect my score? Yes, we need to answer to all the 4 questions, because that is a key, that is the answer, that is where we need to focus on. We need to talk on these 4 elements. Okay, so I'll give you some time to prepare for the for the question. I'll give you 1 minute time. So just go through the question, read it one more time, and just come up with an answer. And don't ever try to write the complete sentence. It is not advisable. You won't get that much time. So for question like bullet points or just very short answers, it is always, I used to say, it is like a route map. You need to just know what you are supposed to talk when you just look into this paper. In between, when you feel like you are stuck, then you can just look into it and you can answer. There is nothing wrong. So we can't write the complete sentence. If we are writing complete sentence, we only get 6 to 7 maximum sentence we can write. So it is not advisable. Just some key vocabulary along with some short notes on the particular topic. So I'll give you 1 minute of time for preparation. Your time starts now. I hope you all are ready with your answers now. It's almost 1 minute, so we can start discussing the question. Here, when you had to make this choice and what you had to choose between, I'm just connecting these two elements together. In my answer, it is my opinion and it is my particular experience. So I am just mingling or connecting these two elements in my first paragraph. So when you had to, you need to talk about, even if you want, you can start with a brief introduction like, we all need to make choices in our life. It is very important to make choices if you want to achieve some things in your life. You can start like this. It is your personal choice. I'm just omitting that part because I'm just getting directly into the answer. You can just come up with a brief introduction as well if you want to stretch your answer. It is also fine. So here, one of the most important choices I had to make in my life was deciding whether to continue my studies abroad or stay in my home country for a higher education. So the choices I need to consider are two things. I'm just coming up with two things that I faced in my life. The first thing was I had an opportunity to study abroad. So, and also I have one opportunity to study in my home country. So I need to choose between these two. It's a very crucial thing, right? When it comes to career or education, we need to take some brave choices. So I'm just coming up with such choice. Here I'm just noting down one of the most important. It is not the only important choice I made in my life. It is it is our life and we need to overcome lot of barriers, or we need to get through lot of choices as well. In every part of life we had that. Even simply considering, if you are a very after plus 2 only, you had that choice option when you are doing the plus 2. You need to select a stream, commerce, humanities, or even science. So from which, even science, we have different things, right? So from which we need to make a choice. So you can even talk about that. So here, one of the most important choice I made in my life is between a career education option which I had to learn in a foreign country, or here in my hometown. Then the decision came after I finished high school. So I'm just talking about the time, because the time is asked in that particular question. I need to talk about when this particular thing happened. So the decision came after I finished high school. When was it? About 3 years ago. It was not now. I need to talk about a past event. That is a major thing I need to focus. It is something that happened in the past and I need to talk about the time I really felt that. Okay. So here it happened to me 3 years ago, not before. It is ago only. 3 years ago. It happened 3 years ago, or you can say it happened 3 years ago, where I need to choose between these two things. Then, on the other hand, studying abroad had always been my dream because it offered the chances to experience a new culture, meet people from different backgrounds and access world class education. So here I am using world class education. So that might be a new word for you, for some of you. Yes, I don't generalize the thing usually. So for some it is a new word as well. So here I need to detail it. If I say that I just finish it within one sentence, right? It happened 3 years ago. It happened 3 years ago. I need to choose between these two. And yeah, that's it. So if I answering to the point, it is just 2 to 3 lines. But is it enough for us to talk like that? No, we need to finish that time frame. We need 2 minutes. It's a 2 minutes task. So you need to make a story out of it. So what are the benefits of studying abroad? You can meet a lot of people, definitely. Then you can improve your lifestyle. Then you can come across to a new culture. Then and you can get a world-class education. More than that, more than anything, it is all about the best education I get. Right. So here I am also focusing on that points. Why one is better than the other one? And then I'm just talking about the other side of it. If I'm just talking about studying abroad, my answer is more like, it is not a neutral one, right? I'm just focusing. Then how can I say I made a choice between these two if I have a clear-cut knowledge about what I want? So the second is, what are the benefits of studying in the hometown? I need to talk about that. You can even elaborate that 2 points over there. On the other hand, staying in my home country meant being close to my family and friends, and it was also more affordable. So you all are planning to go abroad. Some of you are planning to go abroad for take your higher education. What are the benefits of taking higher education abroad? You will get all these things, but what are the demerits or the drawbacks of studying abroad? You will definitely miss your family and friends. You have a safe circle over here. You have a set of comfortable people over here. You will definitely miss them. But did it stop you from achieving your goal? No, right? But we need to talk about that as well. So staying here have a lot of benefits, like I can just be with my parents and friends, and also it is more affordable. When we just go outside India or outside our hometown, it is very expensive these days, and it can be not that much affordable as well. So I'm just talking about these 2 points over there, and I talked a bit more about the first point, that is the benefits of studying abroad. So I'll give you 1 minute of time, not 1 minute, a very few seconds to read this answer, this first paragraph, and we will move on to the next question. Just go through or read the answer. You can develop from it. You can make your choice thing, and you need to come up with your own answer. Don't memorize things. Just go through it. Okay, I hope it is clear. So we are going to answer the third question. Whether you made a good choice. That is a question. Was it a good choice or a bad choice? It is actually cleared, or it is become more wider when we get into the future or in the present, right? We can't stand and say that it was or it is a good choice unless we are just getting the fruits of that particular past experience in our present days. So I just need to talk whether is it a good choice or a bad choice, and I need to talk about what I choose in between as well. I didn't mention that point, so I'm just going on to say that. After considering all these factors, I need to consider all the factors, otherwise it is not making a good choice. So I am just considering all the factors. I eventually choose to study abroad. I chose to study abroad. So that is my choice. I chose to study abroad. So that is the one thing I made, or I just made up my mind to choose a education thing abroad. So it wasn't an easy decision, was it? It is not. I'm going to sacrifice a lot of things here. So it wasn't a good decision, or it wasn't a good decision, or it wasn't an easy decision, because there were many risks involved. like living far away from house or home and cost of living. So I already mentioned that in the previous paragraph, that it is, I will miss my parents and friends, and also it's not affordable. So I just need to tell the risk involved as well. That is how I can elaborate my answer. Otherwise, I don't have enough words to just substantiate my points. So after considering all these factors, I eventually chose to study abroad. It wasn't an easy decision because there were many risks involved. Which are the risks? Like living far away from home and the cost of living. However, I'm not referring like the previous sentence saying being close to my family and friends. I changed the sentence, and it was also more affordable. I changed it into the cost of living. I changed it into the cost of living. Okay, then, however, I felt that it was the best choice for my future career. I felt during that time, I felt it is good, or it will be good for my future career. I did a lot of research. Did I jump into the thing? No. I did a lot of research about the university I was interested in, consulted with my family, and even spoke to some alumni of those institutions. What do you mean by alumni? I'll come to that. So, what are the things I did before choosing the thing? It is not about jumping into a conclusion with our own thing, because we have less experience. We don't have that much experience about the field. So what I did over here is I researched about the university. I researched a lot about the university. Then I just consider my parents' thoughts on same. I consulted with my parents or family, and then even spoke to few alumni. Previous students who took degree or post-graduation from that university is an alumni. Okay, so I just checked with the alumni. I need to check whether they are just good, like placed or something. Otherwise, I'm wasting my life. So I just consider all these factors before jumping into a conclusion. Then I need to answer one more question, that is, yeah, almost I just fulfilled all the questions here when you see it. But if I just stop here, because I need to answer all the 4 questions, I made it clear by 1 minute itself. But I need to detail it. I need to have more sentence on that particular topic. Otherwise, I can't fulfill that time limit. So I'm just moving on saying a lot of things. In the end, I'm glad that I made a choice. What do you felt about it right now? No, I felt about this when the thing happened. I felt it was a good choice, and I am going to extend the thought by saying that what I am feeling right now, because otherwise it is an incomplete thing. I told you, like, all the fruits of past we are just getting or ripe it in the present and future. So I'm just going to end my particular thing by saying that I'm glad I made that good choice. Studying abroad has given me invaluable experience. Is it valuable? No, invaluable, unlimited experiences it gave me. It gave me a lot of exposure to a new world, because I just learned in somewhere away from my hometown. I just love, or I just start to communicate with other people, and I just start building my own personal relationships. I started doing works for my own without anyone's help. So these all are the things I just did when I was doing my post-graduation or degree over there, my higher education over there. So studying abroad has given me invaluable experiences. I have become more independent. So I told you a lot of things. So I'm just making it good with the vocabulary. I become more independent financially, mentally, and even personally. I'm getting independent. I can just believe in myself and I can move forward, and I have learned to adapt to different environment. That is how what I said, like I just learned to mingle with other people or other nationalities, or I was able to just live a life of my own. So I'm just mingling with them, I'm adapting, I am even gelling with them. That is what I'm adapting with them, and I have made connections with people. That is what I said before. I am just putting it into a good words. I have made connections with people from all over the world. And at first, what I felt at first, at first I was a bit scared and uncertain about how things would turn out. We all have that confusion and chaos before, right? We all have that particular feeling that whether is it a good choice or not. We all get into that chaos for sure. So I also went through the same. I also went to, because I was taking a big risk. Like, there were people who will be criticizing me later if I just made any mistakes. So at first I was a bit scared and uncertain about how things would turn out, and now I can confidently say that it was one of the best decisions I have ever made in my life. So yes, it gives me a lot of confidence. I can just handle a lot of situations. I have a lot of friends around the world, and I know how to adapt to a particular situation as well without anyone's help, and I'm more independent now. So these are the outcome of that particular thing, or that particular choice I made. So I'll give you some time to read the second and third paragraph, because I didn't give you enough time to read the second paragraph. So I'm just giving you some time to read the second and also the third paragraph. Move on to the third paragraph. I'll read the whole thing for you one more time. Describe an important choice you had to make in your life, when you had to make the choice, what you had to choose between, whether you made a good choice, and explain how you felt when you were making the choice. So the answer is, one of the most important choices I had to make in my life was deciding whether to continue my studying abroad or staying in my hometown for higher education. The decision came after I finished high school about 3 years ago. On the other hand, studying abroad had always been my dream, because it offered the chance to experience a new culture, meet people from different backgrounds, and access world-class education. On the other hand, staying in my home country meant being close to my family and friends, and it was also more affordable for me. After considering a lot of factors, or all the factors, I eventually chose to study abroad. It wasn't an easy decision because there were many risks involved. Living far away from home and cost of living are few among them. However, I felt it was the best choice for my future career. I did a lot of research about the universities I was interested in, consulted with my family, and even spoke to some alumni of those institutions. In the end, I'm glad I made the choice. Studying abroad has given me invaluable experiences. I have become more independent, I have learned to adapt to different environments, and I have made connections with people from all over the world. At first, I was a bit scared and uncertain about how things would turn out, and now I can confidently say that it was one of the best decisions I have ever made in my life. So that is the question and the answer. So we are moving on to the keywords. I already discussed that, so that I'll just give a brief of it. World class, that means high standard education. Then affordable, reasonably priced. If it is not that much expensive, we can say it is an affordable one. Invaluable, extremely useful. If you have something extremely useful or valuable with you, you can say invaluable. It can't be measured with words, that much value it has. Then the next word is consulted. Consulted means I consulted with my parents. I use that there. Consulted means I seek information or advice from someone. Here it is my parents. Then alumni, I already discussed. The former student of a particular university or school or even the college is an alumni. Then it is not alumni, it is alumni. That is the correct pronunciation. And independence. Independence, I talked about the personal independence, financial independence, economical independence. Instead of financial, I use the term economical independence. So here the independence means the ability to take care of oneself without relying on others. We can't depend on others. That is independence. Then adapt, getting used to, or to adjust with a new condition or environment. It is adapt to a particular situation. So I hope it is clear. I'm moving on to the follow-up question. So here the first follow-up question is, what are some common decisions that young people have to make? You need to think what we are supposed to make. What are the choices? At times we need to choose between the education thing. Sometimes we need to choose at the same time we are getting two work opportunities or job opportunities. You need to choose one. That is another one. And at the time of like personal relationships, we need to choose one. We need to choose family or the person we love. These all are choices we make in our life. We just come across a lot of situations like that. So we need to be very, very clear about what we are going to talk. So I'm just going to give you an answer here. Young people, here the question asked that. It is not about a general thing. What is the common decision or what are the common decisions? So it is not one decision. What are the common decisions that young people have to make in their life? So young people they just point out young people. So we can't generalize saying that children need to choose their that particular thing. Old people, they need to do. No, it is about the young people alone. So here, young people often face decisions related to their education and career path. Right. The most important things are there about their education and career path, such as which course to study or whether to pursue higher education or enter the workforce. At times we really needed to get into a higher education, but because of certain things we need to work or we need to start entering into the workforce. So we need to choose between these two, higher education or work choice. So that is one thing the people or the young people does. Then they may also have to decide on personal relationship. I already marked that point, or I already said that to you. Personal relationship. Whether when it comes to living with your family or moving out, it is a major choice. Like you need to be independent and you need to be financially stable to move out. So that is a choice we all make in our life. Each of these choices can shape their future significantly. We are just denoting or give a conclusion, not as well. So here I am saying young people often face decisions related to their education and career paths, such as which course to study or whether to pursue higher education or enter the workforce. They may also face or also have to decide on personal relationship, like whether to live with family or move out. Each of these choices can shape their future significantly. It will mark how their future is, right? Okay, next moving on to another question. Do you think making decision is easier for young people or older people? So here key is, do you think? The first one. What is your opinion about that particular question? It is not a general question. It is about your belief or your thought on that particular thing. And there is two categories as well, young people and older people. And you need to also say, sorry for that, why. So I need to say what I think about the same, right? I think making decisions can be challenging for both young and older people. I'm saying it is challenging for both. I don't think like young people have to make a lot of choices than the older generation. But if you felt so, you can just answer in that particular way. It is not about the correct or wrong thing. Everything should be well communicate it. That is the only point over there. You can just talk, you can just say older people get more, or they need to choose a lot, and younger people, it is all about you. You can answer accordingly, but here I just prefer to answer it in a neutral way. So I'm saying challenges are for both young and older people, but for different reasons. The difference can vary. Young people, what are they usually struggle with? They usually struggle with making decisions when it comes to when they want to take certain decision. They just face a lot of difficulties because they lack experiences. We don't have that much experiences like the older generation, right? So here we can talk about that. Young people might struggle with making decisions because they lack experience and often face pressure from their peers or family. Peers means the same age group. So they will face some difficulties from their elders or from the peer group. Then what about the older people? Older people on the other hand might find decisions easier in some ways because they have more life experience. So I'm just putting it into the words, that's it. However, they may feel more responsibility, especially when making decisions that impact their family and career. That's why I just said both are same, because young people, when they made a mistake, it is at times it is fine, but when older generation they make a decision, it should be strong because they have lot of they made lot of choices before, and they need to be very strong with their point. So both of them have their own struggles relating to taking decisions. So I'm just emphasizing that I need to say the reasons. That's why the question asks why. And again, one last question before we wind up. Do you think it's important to seek advice from others while making decisions? And do you think? Again, here it is about do you think and why. So here I need to talk about my thing and also the reasons for that. I believe it is better to take advices from the older generation. So I'm just saying yes here, or you can say of course, or certainly. You can say whatever you want. You need to say it confidently, and you need to make your point very audible. That is the only thing. Yes, seeking advice from others is often very helpful, especially if we are unsure about a decision. If we can't make a choice between two things, I believe it is always good to take advice. So I'm answering in that particular way. If you don't feel like that, you can say it is not advisable. Ultimately, we need to take the decision. So we need to understand what all risk it is there, and we need to work on it. So you can just answer in that way as well. But I am just giving my opinion. So I am saying yes, seeking advices from others is often very helpful, especially if you are unsure about the decision. Talking with someone with more experience or knowledge can give a new perspective, new idea. Perspective means new idea or perspective, and help you consider things you might not have thought about. So talking with others, we get, if they are an expert in that particular field, we can get lot of new things, right? New perspective, new ideas, new values on a particular idea. So I believe it is better to ask advice. So I'm just making it clear here. However, it is also important to trust your own judgment in the end. For those who ask me, so you don't have your own idea? Yes, I have one. But after considering all these factors only, I just take a decision. That's why I just made answering to this question like this. I hope the whole thing is clear for you. The cue card is helpful for you. Anyway, you need to practice well if you want to score good. It is all about taking mock sessions and practices. Just go through the cue cards and follow-up question, even the part 1. So I hope it is clear, and definitely I will come to help you with another topic in the coming days. I need to say bye to you now. So meet you all soon. Thank you.